Oh, all right. All right. Kommt. All right. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi Pei K Halacha Aleph. Today's daf is daf Mem Beis. We're going to start on daf Mem Aleph, Amid Beis, the last line in the Amid. And Chevre, there is going to be one main focus of the whole daf today. And that is like this. The Mishnah's ruling is that if winds blew the owners cut grain on top of the left leket, over there we have takamachloikis that maybe we'll get back to at the end of the daf. How do you make the estimation? And there the balabas will leave only the estimated amount as leket for the aniyim. However, the bulk of the Mishnah, the ratio, which is the ikon part of the Mishnah, in quantity, says that if on any level, even b'shoigeg, but let's speak about the b'mezid, the balabas put his grain on top of the leket ears of the ani, we don't make only an estimation, but because of a knas, the chachamim penalize the balabas, and there's a loy plug, so it extends even in scenarios where it doesn't justify a penalty. But let's speak about the mezid. What's the problem? The problem is that the ani doesn't see there's leket for him. He's unable to get to the leket for him. Azoi, knas, every air that's touching the ground, all of the grain of the balabas that's touching the ground, the entire bottom layer is left for leket. That was the ratio of the Mishnah. Bashgacha pratis, see, Baruch Hashem, we're thinking correct. Right after we finished the shir here in the shul, I think it was the Gabbai, Dani said, and we chopped it together. What about Mises? In other words, the Torah gives a dispensation, and not only for leket shikon pei. Leket shikon pei, which is for the ani. When the ani gets it, the ani doesn't have to tithe it. Even though the ani is going to bring it to the meiruach, spatim in a Mises. That's what the Torah says. Mitzat sheni, we keep on learning. Another dispensation that hefker is also exempt from Mises. And we have a classic machloikes Beishamai and Beisilul. We already learned it many times in Masechtas Pei. We keep on quoting it. What happens if a person gives a gift to an ani? So you can say it's hefker la'aniyim, not a gift to a specific ani. It's hefker for aniyim. Hefker for aniyim, according to Beishamai, taka is called hefker. But according to Beisilul, and we paskin like Beisilul, and we mentioned many times that even though when it comes to all arguments, even by Beishamai and Beisilul, but on the other hand, that Beishamai, B'mak and Beisilul ain't no mission for whatever reason. We said because there were so many different arguments and it was such a big group, it wasn't two Tanaim, it was Beishamai and Beisilul, it would almost become two Tairas. So we're very strict in never following Beishamai. Now you have exceptions, Rabbi Eliezer Shamute, which has two meanings. One of them could mean that he used to follow Beishamai. These are exceptions. We try never to follow Beishamai. Problem is, it doesn't seem like in our Mishnah, when the Mishnah gives a knas, the Mishnah didn't say, but the aniyim that get all of that, they have to give maises from the non-leket part. It doesn't sound like that. And we're going to go with that premise. In other words, that even though it's only, let's say, leket midrabanan, it's really, it's a knas, the aniyim keep it like it's leket. The problem is, how can they do that? What about Trumas Umaisis? I mean, the easy solution is to say, our Mishnah is only following Beishamai. We really do not want to do that. So that will be, and that's the question that we had. That will be the whole daf today. I mean, almost until the bottom of daf Mem Beis, Amid Beis. And really, you know what the Gemara is going to say? This is the you have the whole thing with this, not to go back to sleep because it's so geschmack learning it inside. Biklal, that hefker to anani lebeisilul. It's not hefker. It doesn't have the dispensation of hefker. That means that the ani is going to be chayv and meiseles. That is when it's coming from a yochid. But hefker bez than hefker, which is the koyach that the chachamim have when they make a knas. How can they make a knas? It's my money. Hefker, bezdin hefker, even lebeis Hillel, mamish makes it hefker, even though it's only hefker lani. And this is something that we're going to find sources for now. At the end, this Mishnah itself will be the source. How do we know that from the Mishnah? The fact that we are the premise. The Mishnah is not Beishamai. Premise. The Mishnah is not. There's actually a tradition that our Mishnah is not Beishamai. The fact the Mishnah doesn't say that after there's a knas or we do anis or gedenken give maises from the knas part. The Mishnah doesn't say that. We're learning the Mishnah correct. There is no chiyuv in maises because of hefker bez and hefker. Now this topic was discussed in the Sechtes Kalaim in Yerushalmi. In other words, there is mashma'os. I can say the whole thing by heart. That the Mishnah says that the chamisha asad be'adar, be'echad be'adar, they were mashmiyim ala klaim, which means that the Beis Din would remind people, not that you planted klaim. Now that it's beginning to spring, go to the fields. If by accident the wind blew two zeroim together, you weed it out, take it out. They mashmiyah, they remind everyone. Now, on the 15th of Adar, they send shluchim. And if there is a field in which there is Kalaim, they declare the field Hefker. There in Kalaim, we have the same topic. What's that Hefker? What does it mean, Hefker? We'll see. And the question ultimately will mean, are you going to be Chayv and Maises or Patim and Maises? That will be the topic. And that will be the discussion that there is in the Yerushalmi that we're going to quote over here, which will come back to even when it's only Leket, that means it's Hefker, La'aniyim, even the Beis Hillel, that Hefker to Aniyim is not really Hefker. It's called a Matana. Nevertheless, if the hefker was made not by the yachid but by a beis din, hefker is mafkia midoiraisa the chiyuv of meisers, even midoiraisa. Beautiful. We're going to learn. We're going to see. We're going to learn. There was a time that the chachamim made a takana that we are not allowed to import ever in the Holy Land in Eretz Yisrael greens and grains from chutz la'aretz. We're going to speak about it because gush eretz ha'amim is metama b'mago b'mas and midrabanan. We'll explain what that means, why they did it, and unlike fruits, when you pick a fruit off the tree, there is no residue of earth, but greens that grow in the ground and even grain that you cut, you're not oiked it. There was some earth on it. There could be a cloud of earth on it, and the gush itself is metama b'mago b'masa. So not to bring more tuman Eretz Yisrael, there was a zman where they did not allow for you to bring it in. Rabbeinu Hakadosh nullified that takana. We'll see why he did it. I love Ladzi Amalka. And I'm not going to say the whole daf by heart, but I'm saying it's kaval. But the whole daf is around this question that we just mentioned, that we were mechaven here in the Beis HaMedrash together. L'chaim. Okay, let's go inside.
So everyone also has no masa from this way.
Thank you so much for the call out.
Yes. All right. It makes it geschmack. No, I didn't. The Vlad disappeared. That was not the kavanah. I just want to say that I couldn't even see your eyes. All I saw was a yarmulke. It was like, now we're talking. Sham zachnish. You think my tie looks different than your pajamas? There's all the zach. All right. Zog the Gemara. Mamish the last line. Rav Imi b'shem Rav Shimon ben Lakish. Shevet daf mem beis on top of the Amid. It must be that our Mishnah only follows Beishamai. Now you can say this is a kasha or this is a statement, because only Beishamai holds that hefker, even only for Daniyim, has a status of hefker, like we talked out all in the introduction. And in other Mishnayos and in Masechtas Peah, in this Masechta, whenever there was something that was not exempt from Mises, the Mishnah would write, but you have to take Mises. But you're chayiv b'Mises. Remember, like a chikho peah from the goyim, chayiv b'Mises. The ani can take it because he gave a gift and a yashikrech to the nachri. He'll get a gan eden for that. But you're chayiv b'Mises. No, the Mishnah used to say chayiv b'Mises. Here Mishnah does not say it. The fact that it doesn't say it, mashma, that even that which was given as a knas, patim in Mises. Why? It's not leket, because hefker is pater, but it's hefker only for aniyim. Must be beishamai. Says the Gemara, no. That amalei Rabbi Yasa, that shamaynu, guys, the word shamaynu means we have a tradition, right? It's amazing. He doesn't even quote who. In other words, it's like it's known. It's yodua. Like I give an example when it comes to halacha l'moshe Sinai. It's different, of course, not halacha l'moshe, but when we learn ayin tachasai. And we know, like the Rambam writes, that there isn't a single beis in Yisrael that ever touched it otherwise. Just like there is a certain tradition, the way we learn the Torah, meaning Chamisha Chumshei Torah, there was a tradition the way Yidden learn Mishnayos. That's the Shomanu. Shomanu Mevesin. We know that our Mishnah Shu Paten Mi Maisres. Now again, the girsas, the challenge that used to be is what is the girsa in the Gemara? We're going to go with the girsa Divrei Hakoil. Divrei Hakoil means even according to Beis Hillel, and even though the whole lower layer is only gifted to the Aniyah Mitzad Leket, Mitzad Knas, nevertheless, everyone, even Beis Hillel, will hold that it's Patim and Amaisres. Why? Because of Hefker based on Hefker. That's the Nakuda. Yeah, Beis Hillel holds Hefker, the Yachid, La'aniyim, doesn't have the dispensation of real Hefker, Lepotrim and Amaisres. Yeah, but Besdin is different. Now, first of all, where do we Bechal know that Hefker based on Hefker? Now, if you have with you a Babli, I want to point something out. That Flamed Vav Amid Beis and the Babli, this sugya, amongst other places, is when we're speaking about Pruzmo. In that context, now, I'm not going to give the whole sugya there, but there's two sources in the Babli. Here in the Yerushalmi, there's only the first one, and I'll explain why. Well, I learned that Rashba in the Babli because Girsa the Yankas, I heard this from Rab Leib, and Baruch Hashem, Halavai, everything else would stay in my head. So, here the Gemara doesn't attribute a source. I know in the Bavli, again, Gittin Lamavav Amid Beis on top, almost on the top of the Amid, it's Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Lezer, the Amoira. But anyway, so here the Gemara says, it says, and this is a pasuk in Ezra, what happened after Churban Bayis Rishon, even though we were 70 years in Golos, which 70 years is a long time, it's a lifetime for a person, it's a lifetime. The degradation, tragically, in the area of assimilation was horrible. You know, people think, we are assimilating. Rahman al-Islam, yeah, we are assimilating. And we have to do everything. Every Jew is a get out of it. I know that even in America, they say now it's 60% or 70%. Imagine in LA, you have to, in Brazil, in the Area Soda, it's like there's no Yidden there. So it's a tragedy. It's a churban. It's a silent churban. What happened there is that so many Yidden married non-Jewish wives that it was 70 years. Ezra was the one that was gathering the Yidden to go back to Eretz Yisrael. So you have the Asara Yuchsin, Olu, Mi Bavel, right? The 4th chapter of Kedushin. We have also that how Ezra was disappointed that barely any Levium came with him, and he gave a knas to the Levium that my sedition should be given only to the Kahanim. You have another moment where Ezra was taking measures to coerce the Jewish men to leave their non-Jewish wives behind. It's very difficult. And in that pasuk it says that Ezra said, and the Yavai was come without your Goyish wife. If you're not going to come, all of your property should be chedem, meaning not chedem that no one can take it, that you cannot take it. Anyone can take it. In other words, there we see. Now, who was Ezra? Ezra was part of a beis din. It's not a yachid. That the koyach of the chachamim is to take someone's property and to be mafked. Now, this is not a proof that hefked only la'aniyim. No, we don't need that. We just want to show b'chlal how do we know hefked bez and hefked. I want to add like this. And no, the next step before we go on is that in the Babli, the Gemara there brings another source, and the other source is from the Amoira, Rabbi Lazar ben Pados, Rabbi Lazar, and Rabbi Lazar brings a pasuk prior to Ezra that we see from Yehoshua that the Chachamim have the power to apportion the chalakim that were divided by Yeshua ubeis dinoi, not only for the Shvatim, that was also al pi goydel, but in every chelik of a shevet, every family got a chelik. Who did that? The beis din did it. Yeshua beis dinoi, and the part says that the elah hanachlas asher nachal. Nachal means that he apportioned. That asher nachal, I think Eliezer HaKohen. You have to see the pasuk. Eliezer the Kohen Gadol, Eliezer ben Aaron, not Kohen Gadol. Anyways, so you have two psukim. One pasuk is from Ezra that he was machrim. That means that he de-owned it from you. He took away your balabatoshkai. Nachlois is a pasuk that he gave it to people. The reason why in the Babli we have two sources, the Gemara brings it there, is because Hefker based and Hefker really has two steps. One is to be mafkir, one is to be makna. These are the words of the Rashba. Means hefker bezin hefker isn't only that if this belongs to me, the Beis Din can say it's not mine. They can do more. They can take it away from me and they can give it to you. They can be mafker. Now that hakna'ah, for that you need to have the pasuk from Elah Hanachlas from Yeshua. That's what the Rashba says. For our sugi, it's not negeya. Fakert, they're not being makneh. They're just saying it's for the aniyim. They're not being makneh to a specific honey, but they're mafker. So first of all, that's the source that they can be mafker. But by the way, the source doesn't fully address our topic. What's our topic? Our topic is that Beis Hillel says hefker la'aniyim. Of course, it's hefker, meaning that it doesn't belong to the owner, and usher cannot take it. Only aniyim can take it. There's no. The question is it still exempt from meises? Machlokes b'sham and Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says hefker la'aniyim is still chayv in meises by the ani. We are saying over here, that's only because it comes from a yachid. If it's hefker, the Beis Din, then it's patim and meises. Now that you don't see from this pasuk. All you see from this pasuk is hefker, Beis Din, hefker. So the Gemara now asks, minayin shu patim and meises. How do you know it's ad kedei kach? You know what the answer could be? I want you to know like this, that if the Bnei Yeshiva would have had this discussion when they were learning Masechtas Peah Perek Chamishi, they would have said from this Mishnah, that will be the end. This will be the source. Since Shamainu, that this Mishnah is L'divrei Hako, since the Mishnah implies, not explicit, that it's a knas for which Taniyim don't have to give Maisres, this will be the source. We don't need a source. We're not looking for a source in Tanakh. But this discussion was not had originally in Peah. This discussion was had on a whole different topic, and we spoke about in the intro that when it says in Masechtas Kalayim, the Echad Ba'adar Mashmiyim, I know also on the Shkolim also. But one of the things that they're mashmiya is the owners of fields to go through their fields now that the snow is melting, now that it's beginning spring. Other get rid of the kalayim, and there was a follow up by the Beis Din. There's many steps I remember. The first step is that the Beis Din would remove it. Then the problem is that people said, I'm a chayim. Why should I do the hard work? Beis Din will remove it. Yeah, we're removing it. We're being mafkir your whole field. So there, the question was, okay, no one is debating the koyach of Beis Din that they can say, what you think you own, hefker. Now we know. The question there was, when the person takes it, they have to give maisnes, or is it mamish patim and maisnes? That was the question over there. So Rabbi Yonasan, the Reid Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Acha, says, I'll know the answer. Sham Allah min hadok. The end will be our Mishnah and Peah. Now we're beginning with a Braisa, which says the following. We're hired that this Braisa is in Bavli Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Beis. First state in the Braisa, we do not declare a year into a leap year since Shnas Achama is comprised of 365 days. That's the time that it takes for the sun to go back to the same place vis-a-vis the Mazolois. Shnas Halavana does not really exist because the full cycle of the moon in the same place of the Mazolois takes around 29 and a half days. So what's the Shana of a Levana? Well, times 12, but 29 and a half days, which really means 29 days, 30 days. 29 times 12 is 354. 365, there was an 11-day difference between Shnas Acham and Shnas Halavana. And since when the Torah gave us the mitzvah of creating a calendar, including this in the mitzvahs to make sure that Pesach comes out on the spring, which means that we want for the spring equinox to be in the first 14 days of Nisan and not later, because if the spring equinox is going to be later, it chaps that the beginning of Pesach was not yet in spring. Shamoy, as Chodesh HaAviv, make sure that the spring, right, Pesach is in spring. When do we declare the year a leap year? Nowadays, we have the fixed calendar. Ideally, it's done a year-to-year case. And with all of the rules, when do they declare it? When is it too late to declare it? Obviously, all of this comes from the Sanhedrin, that should be sitting in Eretz Yisrael. Doesn't have to be in the Lishkas HaGazis. And again, with all these exceptions, that if the greatest Chachamim in astronomy are not currently in Eretz Yisrael, there were times that they were ma'abed all of this with Rabbi Akiva when he was outside Eretz Yisrael. We're not even talking about location. But there are certain klalim. So the Braisa says one of the klalim is that the Sanhedrin, that's looking whether they should be ma'aber deshana. Now, by the way, just to make it clear, we learned this so clear in the Rambam. It's not just about Pesach and spring. There are major factors. There are minor factors. There's a system of how to combine the minor with the major. But we won't have enough time for this. And we'll be, God willing, somewhere in the Yerushalmi, we'll speak it out good. But here, rule. What year may not be declared into a leap year? Not the Shemitah year. Two main reasons. We're not allowed to work the land. There's a lot of prohibitions on the Shemitah year. Don't prolong the prohibition of cultivating the land. Yeah, there's so many restrictions. Now, what I'm saying the next can be viewed by some achreinim as number 2, or it's all one. What I'm saying now can be hamshech. What happens on Shemitah is that since we cannot cultivate the land because it's really all available for all, that's hefker. No trumas or maisres are removed from peiros shvius, which may be eaten. You can't do schayda with it. There's man biur. Don't have this imagination. You can't touch it. It's not chazer trei pakert. Everyone would pick up. They would eat a little bit for that meal. There was produce, but none of the Kohanim and the Levium got anything special. They also can collect it, but they're used to being treated like royalty, which they are. We give it to them. We give it to the Kohen. We give it to the lady. Don't add another month that the Kohanim and the Levium are not going to get trumas or maises. So this is a rule. That's number 1. The next thing is v'loy b'matzoi shvius. Don't make Matzah Shemitah. And guys, I'm already giving you the Gemara by heart. What's Matzah Shemitah? You cannot cultivate the land. So therefore, on the 8th year, there won't be that much product, which is why the Torah says v'tzivisias berchasi b'shana hashishis that the last normal harvest was on the 6th year, and God is giving us this haftach forever that if Yidden keep Shemitah, 6 will be enough for the 6th, for the 7th, and for the 8th. Now, don't forget, guys, on the 8th year, you're allowed to cultivate the land. When it comes to grain, especially the barley is ready around before Pesach. And there is a Yisur Doiraisa, certainly in Eretz Yisrael, for us to eat from the new grain until the carbon oimer is brought. It's called Chadash. Now, imagine if you're going to make... one thing I forgot to mention. We all know this, but just to mention it. When is the leap year made into a leap year? Only the month of Adar. A leap year is only not by adding Nisan or Iyar or Shivan or Tammuz of. Adar has 2 others if it's a leap year. So if you're going to make Matzoi Shemitah a leap year, that means that it's another month until they bring the carbon oimer. You're beginning the year not with that much produce. Because from the 7th year, you didn't plant. You ate a little bit on the 7th from the 7th. How much is there? At least let the people eat earlier. Bring the carbon oimer. That's the rule. So that's that. And then the Braisa says that the imi brua, if Beis Din, in the worst case scenario, from ignorance, they forgot this Braisa. But that's normally what wouldn't have happened. One person forgets, a group doesn't forget. There are many other reasons why you're ma'aber deshana, like we just mentioned. I didn't say the reasons. There are many other reasons, and sometimes they're so compelling, sometimes that they were ma'abed. So it doesn't matter whether they did it from ignorance. Then there's a general rule that v'im be'ibrua, then harezu mubetz. In other words, just like we all know by the Rosh Chodesh, that Beis Din's declaration of Rosh Chodesh as Rosh Chodesh, I think it's if they made a ta'us, I forgot the exact lashon, whether they made a mistake, whether they did it wrong, b'meizid. Their declaration makes it Rosh Chodesh, and what's announced in Beis Din Shalmata is announced by Beis Din Shalmayla, Mekadesh Yisrael V'Asmanim, and their thing, Pesach is on the 15th of the 1st. Who said the first? Beis Din. Whether they made it on purpose wrong. Same thing with Iber Hashana. God gave this over to us Yidden. In this case, us Yidden through the Sanhedrin.
Now, what does that have to do with what we just talked about? The hefker.
Wait, Kevin. Yeah. No. Okay, I know it's late. Okay, so say it now. Now, you guys, you have to know how to learn this. There's so many different, it's so hard to learn it. It's so easy when you have the art scroll. It's so hard with that, you have no idea. So we're going to learn the pshat that the Gemara is making a comment, not on the Matzeh Shemitah, the way other people learn, that this comment is made, what happens when you added the Chodesh on the Shemitah year? What did we say before? That all of the produce of Shemitah year is exempt from Maises. It is. So if they made another month, nowhere does it say that product that was only added midrabanan, so to say, nowhere does it say that will be chayv and maises. No, if they added it, it's going to be exempt. This is Beloshin Bitmiya. Is loy prated humi maises? Of course it's prated from maises. That means that even though it shouldn't have been declared, the Shemitah year should only have had 12 months, if the Chachamim, even on purpose wrong, they made it 13 months, all of the 13 months are exempt. Maises is a chi of doiraisa. Who made it 13 months when it should not have been? The Chachamim. So therefore, in Kalayim, when the Beis Din declares that you didn't your whole produce on the 15th of Adar is hefker, it's a hefker and patrim and a maises.
That's our raya.
That's a raya. Now, before we completely uproot this raya, so if you have a thought in your mind, hold it. The Gemara says like this: that Atkedoin Shvi is the way we will learn. Okay, the way we will learn is that I understand. Why is it that L'chatchila, the Beis Din, the Sanhedrin, should not declare Shemitah year into a leap year? Makes sense. Makes sense. You can't cultivate the land. Why are you cultivating the land? Or like we just said, when you add the 13th month, what chaps that there's another whole month that the Yidden don't give a maisis, the patim and a maisis. So that the last thing that we said already explains the reason. Why would we make an exemption from maisis? Who gives you that right? It's the Kahanim lose, the Leviim lose. But Matzoi Shviz my Tama. So Amar Rab Avon Shaloi LeRabbis beIsur Chadash, like we explained. You're prolonging the Isur Chadash. Now, again, before we refute the proof daddy, let me go to something else. Why is there anguish if you prolong the month, another month? Because you don't have product in Israel. So what? Import from Chutz La'aretz. So says the Gemara that Rab Ze'era, B'Shem Rabbi Bohu, Hadad the Tamar, is only, and let me go further. The issue of cultivating the land, right? We want is why even when it comes to Shemitah itself, what's the problem? We said aside of not giving Trumas U'Maisers, Danny. What's the issue? You can't cultivate the land. We want for the land to be cultivated. Why do you have to cultivate the land? Because you need to eat. All of that is connected to the fact that there used to be a derabbanan deki isur to import product to Israel. B'chlal, like we said, what product? Grains and greens. Why? Nachamo, because the Chachamim made a takana that gush eretz ha'amim is matama b'mago b'maser. Gush means the earth itself. Why did they say that the earth is matama? Because since in Chutz La'aretz people are not careful where they bury their dead, and even according to Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, with whom we paskin, that the goyish corpse is not matama ba'oil, zois toiras adam, atem kuroim adam, for tumas oil, adam kiyamus ba'oil, but mago masa l'kula alma, goyish corpse is matama b'mago b'mas. How much is matama? You have to remember the dinim. One din, what Danny loves these dinim, is etzem kiso'erim. That means if you have a fragment of a bone of a corpse, even only in the size of a barley bean, matama b'mago b'mas, the highest level of ta'aviyah v'isatuma. If you don't know where people are buried, over years, could be that in the clod of earth, there's a fragment of a bone. So the Chachamim says, whether you know so or not, gush eretz ha'amim is matama b'mago b'mas. When you uproot greens come with the earth. When you cut the tfuah, you don't uproot it. Most people did not uproot it, but there's going to be residue of earth on it. So the Chachamim made a takana, you're never allowed ever. This is not about Shemitah. You cannot import greens or grains from Eretz Yisrael. All of that leads into the issue of not extending a leap year, not Shemitah, not Motzei Shemitah. It addresses both. Now, another thing just to remember, that even though Midai Raisa, Trumas U'Maisers only has to be given from products that grows in Eretz Yisrael, the Aratzois surrounding Israel are Chayv and Maisers Midrabanan. The moment you begin importing, side there's enough produce, side the Kohanim and Leviim get Trumas U'Maisers. So the Gemara just wants you to know that Rab Ze'eda says that Hadad the Teiman, the whole issue was actually Hit Rebbe, which is Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Lahavi. Now, Yarak, just to know, Yarak sometimes means only greens. Here, Yarak means greens and grains. And interestingly, when we learned in the last mission of the previous Pedic about the Elyonim and the Tachtoinim, and we said that the Tachtoinim were Yarak. You see, the word green is also used for grains. So this is Mechutz La'aretz Yisrael. However,
Right,
Daf
I'm
Mem
sorry.
Beis.
Question.
One
Does
second,
the
Mama
last
Mishra
two
middle, Mama Beis. Hold your question. Aval Mishahit Rabbi Lo Havi Yarik Mechutz La'aretz. Once Rabbeinu HaKadosh allowed the importation. Now, why do you think he allowed it? This is also connected to Kiddush HaChodesh. Because there was food shortages and we couldn't do without it. Don't forget, Gush Eretz Ha'amim makes sense, but you will see if there's a fragment of a bone. You have to understand how far do we go. But you think it's a very small chance. So you have to wait. Sometimes practical reasons, because I'm saying this because there were certain practical reasons that justified Ibur Shana. One of them was you didn't have to make a Elias Leregel. Remember that? What happens if the snows or the rains were so big in Israel that the roads have a lot of potholes? It takes more time to fix it. Or every Yidden has to bring Korban Pesach. There isn't enough Shepsalach. These have nothing to do with astronomy. It was a lot of the Chachamim's takanas, some of them, maybe even a lot, were for practical reasons. Rabbi says we cannot live with that. We have to import. Ido's looking at me. Ido's angry because Ido's thinking, if I may intuit, what are you talking about? Get more Jews to plant more. All you need is more Jews to live in Israel, and they'll make more. Make more. And a chanami. That's the ideal. But if you don't have more, you have to import. Now, once he took it out, he shnei shavuam. Very good. There won't be food shortages. You can say none of this is an issue. Now let's go back to the raya. What was that? Now I'm sorry, Kevin. You wanted to ask something. You have time. We'll finish Talmud.
Laws of Tumah. I thought Tumah doesn't apply to non-Jewish bones if there's no ohel over non-Jewish bones.
No. So Tumah certainly L'Kula Alma applies to corpses of human beings. B'mago u'b'masa. When it comes to Tumas oil, machlekes chachamim and Abshuma Bar Yochai. And even though that normally we pass like the chachamim, we pass in like Abshuma Bar Yochai. The reason why kohanim don't go into Maras HaMachpelah, now L'Kula Alma, it's not a problem. But don't forget, on the lower story, it's filled with goyim. They knew that the Aves are buried. Everyone wanted to be buried there. So now it's closed off. There used to be certain doors that were open. There were times that what does it say? Zeshar Hashamayim, or sometimes the doors from where you can go downstairs. With all these stories that they went downstairs the night of Shavuos. When that is open, how can a coin be in there? You have a tefach by tefach, because who's down there? Only goyim.
There?
Sure, in the ground story. And no. Now I do avos by avos, so we're gonna go that tzaddik am not matamik. That's an important add-on. Correct. Okay. Anyways, let's come back over here. So now, okay, the answer to your question is that the bones of goyim l'kula alma, they impart tuma both b'maga and b'masa, and there is a small chance that there'll be a fragment and a bone in every clod of earth everywhere in Chutz La'aretz, including in the Americas. Who knows what the Indians did over here? Now, Tanei, what did we learn above? We're going back to that. That Ema Abraham Sashana Lev Shvis, Lev Mitzvah Shvis, Elo B'Shar Shnei Shavua. And then the Brisa says, Vimi Brua Harezim Lo Beres. Yeah. And now another. We just said after Rebbe, it's not a problem. Now another din. What's the other din? That Amar Abmana, and this again, with the way we are learning the Gemara, we'll go on the original Takanon that you on Matzei Shemitah. This is on the Matzei Shemitah. Before we learned it was on Shemitah. Now it's on Matzei Shemitah. And what did we explain? Why should you not be Ma'abarit? Because you don't want to prolong the Isur Chadash. He's giving you a Metzias that in the earlier years, there was always, in the early times and now times, just like in your mind, the old years and how it changed, there's a phenomena in the Holy Land that Amal, produce, was taka ready in the early spring. Things were ready quicker. In other words, there was taka barley on the 8th year, and if you're going to add a leap year, even if you wouldn't add the leap year, it would be ready. Elamad, the Torah says Chodesh, but Amachaya, after you bring the carbon omer, everyone can eat at least to have barley. I take that back. They can have all of the grains. The only grain, barley is mated, all of the grains, but in the Beis Hamikdash, you still were not allowed to bring wheat until the Shtei Halachim. Okay, we're going to get to that when we learn Kachim. That thing that I remember. Now, coming back over here. You know what the Gemara says? That in the times of at some point, the land itself became sluggish. See, the land reflects people. When people are sluggish, the land becomes sluggish. And anyways, Rav Mana is saying, in the year that should have been a leap year, should have been a leap year is Petaka to make Pesach fall in spring. If you're not going to make it into a leap year, it's not going to help you. The product won't be ready. You're not benefiting anything. No, it's don't prolong Chodesh. If there's something ready, if it's not ready anyways. And don't forget, why are you making it into a leap year? Like this year is a leap year. Because it's still raining. Imagine it would have been after a Pesach if they would have not made the Tafshin Pei Daled into a leap year. While we're talking about in LA, 60 degrees, that's freezing. No, it's Taka because it's not yet spring or just began. So Amar Avmana Barashayna, Shahoya Shonam Kisidran. Kisidran means when things work properly, because human beings behaved properly. There was a benefit in not making it into a leap year because then the product was ready. Barley was ready quicker. Pasha, the land worked quicker. But nowadays, then there's no reason why not to make it into a leap year. Make it into a leap year. There won't be any, not ready anyway. Whenever the seasons demand a leap year, which is the main reason. The main reason is because of Chodesh Aviv. So then, yeah, he's right. Not going to be ready anyway. So what's the point? There's no food. The barley did not grow yet. It's not even a dia shlish. Tani, we learned in the Braisa that shall base Rabbi Gamliel ibrua b'matzoi shvius miyad and a chanami. And it shall base Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel is not Rabbi Gamliel is already, guys. I know it's still Tanoim. Ravmana, I think, is an Amoira. But Rabbi Gamliel was the head of Yavna. We're talking about after the Churban and a chanami. But he didn't hesitate. He knew there's no point in not doing it. Okay, go on. Now, let's come. The bottom line is how do we get into this whole topic? We got into this topic to try to prove for the Mishnah and Kalayim from this Braisa that Hefker Bez and Hefker. In our context, they added a 13th year on Shemitah. They added the 13th year on Shemitah. Nowhere does it say in the Braisa, thank you, extra month, that's the Iked. Nowhere does it say, but the last month you have to give Tumas U'Maisos. Patim and Amaisos. Who made it? The Beis Din made it. Zaraya, that Beis Din has the Koyach. So then what are you comparing apples and oranges? We're speaking about Hefker, Beis and Hefker. You're bringing a raya from Beis Din's capacity to declare a year a leap year. Like we mentioned, the Torah gave to Beis Din the power to make the year into a leap year. It's a whole different thing. It's not Hefker, Beis and Hefker. Like when does the year begin? When does the year end? When does the month begin? It's not Hefker. Who does that? Shabbos, the Oivishter. God fixed Sunday, Monday, forever. Shabbos mekacha v'kaima. The cycle of the calendar is only made by a Beis Din. That's not Hefker, Beis and Hefker. It's different. So if they declare a 13th month year, the Torah says it's 13th month year. It's a whole different thing. Not a proof at all. I think people were thinking, Omar Abavin, ein min Hadam. No, or in min Hadam. I'm sorry, in min Hadam. If you think you're bringing a raya to Kalayim, by Kalayim it's a Knas, which is our topic. If you think that raya is from the whole topic of being ma'aber, the shana leis at shema mino klum, because since it says, and there's a pasuk in a shomer is chodesh ha'aviv. And yeah, the Hasidic Torah, it's all Hasidus, my friend. This way of learning. Chodesh means a month. Chodesh means bichidusha. Shamreu sheyavad bichidusha. Meaning the Aviv should fall bichidusha shel chodesh. Bichidusha shel chodesh means in the first half of the month. Really, it's the first 14 days. Like we said, we need for spring, not from when the Goyim say it's spring, from when the Torah says it's spring, which is from the Torah Dika spring equinox, it has to fall at least within the first 14 days of the month of Nisan. If it falls before, even better. In other words, Pesach will be after the spring equinox, after the sun crosses in the Mazalois from one side to the other side of the pole, the Ein Karamak. In other words, since the Torah says you have to do that, God gave over to the Beis Din full authority when to declare a Rosh Chodesh and when to make an Ibur Shana. So when they do it, even if they do it, they made it wrong, doesn't matter. God gave it to us. That's very different, which is our topic. If the Beis Din on their own, for a knas, they decide to be mafkir or something, to what level is their hefker effective vis-a-vis chiyuv or ptum and amaisis? You don't know that. Now you see why we discussed it. Muzman Zogin says Rab Oven, you know what the only source will be? Our Mishnah. Vaida Omredom. It's amazing how Vai in Bayos, in the Bible, in the Yiddish, Vai, Oi, Vai. No. Vai is a good, Vai is not Oi Vai. Vaida Omredom. This is the right. Now we're going to quote what we just learned today. How did we begin today's shit? God Shalei Lukat Tachta, which was wrong. And even though Gazrina and Shogeg got to Mason, and Loi Plug, but it all begins for the Mason. In other words, you covered Leket with your own product. And the Mishnah says, you know how much Leket is Leket? Not only the Leket. Don't make any approximations. Everything that's touching the ground, and we learned yesterday, that's a Knas. And even though we attempted to say that our Mishnah only follows Beis Shammai, right? Because Hefker La'aniyim is Hefker, and the Torah says that anything that's Hefker is exempt from Isis. But since we have Shamanu, that it's not only Beis Shammai, we also learn a Mishnah like Beis Hillel. Aniyim, Ma'asrin, V'oichlin. No, we began by saying that according to Beis Hillel, he said, Aniyim will have to give Ma'aser. It won't go with it. But then, Rabbi Yasa, no, Shamanu, we have a tradition that our Mishnah, Shupatimi Ma'aser, is again, Divrei HaKoil, take out the word he, Bishum Knas. That's what I am. That's the answer to our question. So why? Hefker the Yachid,
Are there
Hefker the base.
Aside from the Chalukah of Yeshua, where Hefker based in Hefker is able to say it's Hefker, but it's only for these guys, not for you guys. So that's kind of like what they're doing. Think of the Hefker, that Hefker is equal to anybody. You're going to say Hefker, but only for poor people.
What about principle? It's only Hefker for the...
No. Hefker for everyone over there.
I don't know.
Okay, and for that we don't have a source.
This is the source.
Okay, that's another thing. Okay, I know we have only 2-3 minutes, but let's hop just the beginning. So just to go at the end, what did we learn at the end of the Mishnah? There is a limit to this knas. The limit of the knas is that if the ruach, if the wind, means I did everything correct. The leket I left in the place. When I put down what's in my hand, I put it in b'makemach. I didn't cover it. The wind scattered my ears and it covered the ears of the aniyim. So then the Mishnah says you have to make an approximation to leave approximately for the ani leket, and it doesn't have to be that ear, just 1%. And in that itself, we had a machlekes Tanakama and Abshua ben Gamliel. The Tanakama it tells us to do something that's harder. It means you look at your own field. How much leket was given from your field? And I think you have to add on that. Maybe this year was more rainy or less rainy, more fertilizer, less fertilizer, subjected to your field. And Rashbag says kedei nefila. Kedei nefila means mamish. It's you every year. How much
percentage? How
much percentage comes from a field, and then you proportion it to your field. So how much is kedei nefila? We didn't say. So kedei nefila. That these are the words out of Shemay Gamliel. That's not the Tanakam. So now what is it? What percentage is it? That's an easy piece of Gemara. So Rab Zeida and Rabbi Bohu, both in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, say Arbas Kaben Lukur. Guys, 1 kor is 30 saw. Each saw is 6 kaven. How much is 4 kav to the kor? A kor has 180 kaven. Who knows the math? It's 1/45. Out of every 45, you give 1/45, which is, by the way, a lot. A lot. You think about like it, how much does fall already? But the Gemara modifies that. The words are correct. It's 4 kav to the core. But the way the Gemara modifies it is by saying, hold on. Let me, what do you mean by that? There are 2 options. Is it 4 kav from core of product out of the ground? Or is it 4 kav from a base coin? A base coin is the land in which you plant a core of barley seeds. But when you plant, just to know the proportion, how much more comes out? 7.5 in this cheshbon. In other words, from the area of a base Kurshleima, which is 75,000 square amas, 75,000 square amas, you put in a quart of seed. How much comes out of it? 7.5 quart. 4 kav now from 7.5 is 1 out of every 337. Better. That makes a lot more sense. A very small amount. Okay, it's not basically 2%. I'm giving approximations. It's 0.00. Once you're already there, it's all different. Which one is it? And so he clarified it's the latter. It's the base chord. The base chord. We're going to stop over here.
So instead of 1/45th, it's 1.
It's 1 out of 337 and a half.